Hi, I'm glad you could join me today. Today we're going to make gingerbread, and it's really easy to do. There's quite a few ingredients, or so it looks like, but it's not complicated, and I'm sure if you've baked a little bit you'll be able to do this quite easily. It's very tasty, it freezes well. It's great if you want to use it for a holiday or just a snack. We're going to start with the ingredients. We have 1 1/4 cups of gluten-free flour with xanthan gum. We have 3 spices here. We have ginger, cinnamon, and cloves, a half of ginger and a half of cloves, and 1 full teaspoon of cinnamon. We have 2 teaspoons of baking soda and some salt, about 1/4 teaspoon. I don't use much salt. And instead of oil today, we're going to use a half a cup of applesauce. I'm going to show you how you can use this in your gluten-free baking in some items so that you won't have to use oil, so it'll save you a few calories. The sugar won't, but the oil will for fat. This is a half a cup of white sugar, a half a cup of molasses, a 1/4 cup of, believe it or not, cocoa, half a cup of hot coffee, and 2 eggs. And that's all that's going to be in this recipe. So we're going to sift all our dry ingredients together. Alright, so we've got the flour. I'm going to pour my sugar in on top of that. I'm going to put my spices in. And I'm going to throw my baking soda and salt in there. And I'm just going to sift them all together. And like I said before, you need to sift your gluten-free flour. It gives it a little more lift and makes it work a little better. Okay, I'm going to set this off to one side for now. And the next thing I'm going to do is I'm going to take my whisk and my cocoa, and I'm going to add my coffee to it and stir it together until it dissolves and looks like hot chocolate in the bottom of this dish. This is going to be the dish that I have my wet ingredients in, and the other one, of course, is my dry ingredients. So just stir that all around. This is relatively easy, as I said, so we'll move these other things out of the way. I'm going to pour my molasses in. The molasses is going to stick, so I'm going to use my little wooden spoon. If you have a problem with your molasses sticking, you can put a little bit of oil on your measuring spoon or cup before you start. I didn't do that because I'm trying to show you how not to use any oil today, and still make a nice product. This freezes well also. Set that over here. I'm going to add the applesauce next. Just use my little mixer. I'm going to mix those all together. In with the hot coffee, which isn't very hot anymore, and the cocoa. It makes a nice dark, rich flavor, and I think you'll really enjoy it if you like gingerbread. Now, if you have somebody who's allergic to cinnamon, like we do, but our family member just won't eat this, you can leave the cinnamon out and put a little bit more ginger in, and cloves, and maybe a bit of nutmeg or some other spice. But today we put the cinnamon in so you can see that, there. See that you can do it this way also. Just about everything can be made with a substitution, as long as you take your time to figure out what's going to work and what isn't. Some things don't work very well. There are some items where you couldn't substitute applesauce for oil, but in most occasions you can. You can either make the applesauce yourself or you can buy it in a jar. I was a little lazy today, so I bought mine in a jar, but you can use homemade applesauce as well. Alright, so that's done. All mixed up. Now I'm going to clean up this mess, and then I'm going to get my dry ingredients to put in here, and then we'll put it in the pan and bake it in the oven. Alright, so now I've got my liquid and my dry ingredients. I'm going to put my dirty little sifter or whisk over there. I'm just going to stir that around a bit. And I'm going to add this liquid to this dry. So I'm just going to scrape that out. There we go. There, just stir that around. Sometimes I wish, not always, but sometimes I wish you could smell this, because it makes your mouth water, the spices and the coffee with the chocolate in it. The chocolate just seems to enhance the flavor of the spices. It's almost like a mole sauce that you would make for someone in a Mexican meal. who would ever believe you could make a spicy sauce with chocolate in it, but it really does enhance the flavor. So it's the same thing in this application. So you stir this around until it's relatively smooth. Don't overmix it, as I've said before. Gluten-free baking, you can't overmix stuff. There's not a lot of lift in it to start with, and if you overmix it, then you end up with a little bit of a mess. Now, you either need to have a greased and floured loaf pan, or you can make it in an 8x8 square pan. I'm going to use a loaf pan today, and I put parchment in mine because I really don't like to clean the pan very well, and I don't like the butter. I've got my little scraper here, and I'm just going to pour that right in the center of the parchment. Try not to get it outside the parchment. Try not to drop the bowl, and a few other try not to's. And then this is our gingerbread. So it's going to go in the oven at 350 degrees for 55 to 65 minutes. Test it at 55, and if your little skewer is still a bit sticky, leave it for another 10 minutes. And I'm sure once you make this, and if you like gingerbread, you'll make it again.